Molly of Denali is a new PBS series about Molly, a 10-year-old Alaska Native girl. The show weaves together literacy skills and Native values. It's the first nationally distributed children's television series to feature a Native American lead character. It premiered nationally July 15th, including right here on New Mexico PBS. The show also has some New Mexico ties. NMAF correspondent Antonia Gonzalez sits down with Maya Silganic, a producer on the show who was born and raised in Santa Fe.
Maya, welcome to New Mexico PBS.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm honored to be here.
How excited are you about this show?
I can't believe we have this show going. Molly of Denali is a game changer for so many of us and hopefully for so many of our children. It's a really exciting project to be involved with.
And this show is being tagged as groundbreaking because it has a Native American as a lead character. You're from New Mexico, you know the diversity of our state. You're now in Alaska and adopted and married into the Tlingit Nation. Tell us, with your knowledge about indigenous communities, why it's so important to have Native representation in the media.
Well, I feel like it's important because the children who see themselves represented in the media have a better self-image. They identify that what they are, who they are, how they express themselves is just as valid as any other expression that you might see in the media. And so having this Native American character for Alaska Native children, for children in the rest of the 48, and even further beyond, gives a sense that they're proud to be who they are, and proud and free to express themselves in whichever way they choose. And I think the more of those variations of representation we have, the more positive it is for everybody.
And as a parent, as a mother, for your own child, how important is that?
It's critical. You know, my son Keat, his name means killer whale from the Tlingit language. He's a very gentle soul, you know, and being able to represent stories that we saw, the herring egg story, for example, and they're speaking Tlingit on TV, you know, and we're trying so hard to give a sense of pride and knowledge of his culture, which is not taught in schools, not taught in the textbooks, not included in major dialogue around the country, but it's very specific and it's very much unique to his own family's history. To have that expanded and have another place where it's like, look, they're speaking Tlingit on TV. Like, how beautiful is that? And I know the Gwich'in families are feeling similarly, the Inupiaq. There's so many different cultural languages that are part of Alaska, and all of those children will hopefully identify similarly with this positive reinforcement of their identity.
And it's not just on screen. Native people are involved in all aspects of the project, both on screen and behind the camera. So this has opened up opportunities for Native people, the advisors and other producers on the show. Tell us a little bit about that.
I think it was a really progressive move for WGBH as they conceptualized this show. They reached out to Alaska Native communities, to elders, to community leaders, to academics in the Native community specifically, and said, what shall this show be? What do we do? How do we guide the idea into fruition in a way that it's yours, you know? The conversation keeps going around that Molly's our girl. You know, we all have raised her in some way, whether it's a big action or small note, but everyone wants her to thrive. And so I think that with WGBH coming through and really guiding and making sure that those advisors were there at the beginning, that their creative producer, Princess Johnson, was brought in very early as an Alaska Native person to guide the creation over all of the show and have a very broad view of how that show is going to work. And then work was done to develop foundation scholarships and fellowships with writers as well as voice actors so that we increase the number of Alaska Native writers and actors that were capable of being included in the show as well. So all of that work has been happening simultaneously. We've also sent from the University of Alaska in Fairbanks, where I teach, we've sent students down to work at Atomic Cartoons, to work at the Animation House. So there's all of these various levels where Alaska Native people have been involved, both there and here in New Mexico too, through the Institute of American Indian Arts.
And with the lead producers coming out of Boston, knowing the importance of having Native people on such a project, Talk a little bit about how you see this may prompt other shows in children's television with diversity. Does it need to be, subtle or overt?
I think that it doesn't hurt to have it be overt, to have that reach across and say, open the doors and say, we have this idea, but we're not the ones that can only tell it, right? I think a lot of times, especially up in Alaska, people will come up and say, I have this great idea for a show, and we need to have a Native person represented in it. Who should we, And that representation of that Native person isn't genuine. It isn't authentic, it doesn't fit right. And there's been numerous examples over the years of producers coming in and having an idea, and they sort of romanticize or make expectations that aren't really there, and develop characters or storylines that don't sit right with the people that they're supposed to represent. And that sort of misrepresentation then has been a long-standing problem in Native country and in people of color. So this work of really what WGBH has done is saying, yes, let's make this show, and we're listening. And there's been a lot of back and forth of what does that really mean. It's not an easy process, I don't think, by any means. Some of the things that we're expanding in with Molly of Denali is that there's a lot of this informational text, and Molly is using the computer and the internet and, using table of contents and maps. And so much of this is from a Western education. So how do you combine the Western education teaching goals that are also combined with traditional knowledge? And how do we marry those two in a way that feels seamless for the kids watching the show, that it's really integrated? So it's been a dance, I think, for this production, but what a meaningful one. And I know that we recently hosted the sort of premiere up in Fairbanks, and everybody from Vancouver, from the Atomic Cartoons came to Fairbanks, and from WGBH in Boston, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and then we had all of our elders come, and the kids, and we had a big group screening. And it felt so settled that people were really in the center of doing something, and very authentic, and it means so much to people to have been put the extra energy in, that extra effort. So I think that the rewards really will show to any show that does this effort and makes the attempt to listen and reflect what people will genuinely want to share with what the content can and could be. Yeah.
Well, I could just tell the excitement as you speak. And so what do viewers get to look forward to this season? Can you share a little bit of insight?
Well, the screener and what sort of has started with is this very emotional episode of Grandpa's Drum. And this first episode, Molly is on a quest to reunite her grandfather with his drum. And she learns about the history of the boarding school era and the loss of language, the loss of songs, and it's sort of new news to Molly. She hadn't really been aware of what her own grandfather had been through. And I think that the fact the show starts in that space in a way, and began with that knowledge of what Molly's background is, that she really is grounded in something that has a lot of depth to it, and a lot of the historical trauma is revealed in that first episode. And Molly heals her grandfather. She reunites him with this drum. And from there, the show just blossoms and grows. And we see how silly she is, how free she is to make mistakes, how much she's curious. Her curiosity really drives her forward. How much she loves her traditions, her native food, the food of other families around the state. There's all of these adventures that she goes in, and it adds to subsistence activities, the climate change, and knowing your land and how to navigate and expect what to expect on the land, all the way to understanding how to search the internet for what it is you're looking for. So it's a really exciting number of things that are combined into these episodes.
And we know how important teaching Native history is, and it sounds like what you're explaining is being shown in this show. What are your hopes for Molly?
My hope for Molly, I guess, is that she becomes sort of one of the manifestations of what a young woman in the 21st century can and could be. She's identifiable by a wide group of children, that they all know somebody like Molly or would like to know somebody like Molly, and that it just becomes very much of a normal part of this generation's upbringing, is that they have understanding of what Alaskans are like in this way, but also Native people. And that the simultaneity of culture and the modern age are not separated, but it's all part of the fabric of what people are like today. So that's our hope for Molly, and that she continues to be seen and shared with in families and start conversations.
And there's also a lot of online, I guess, interaction that children across the country could do as well.
Yeah, online there's the games and the video clips, and we're starting the YouTube series up now. So there's I just finished shooting part of the first episode for the YouTube series, which is at Fish Camp. And so you can see real kids out fishing for salmon and cutting up their fish and putting it in the smokehouse and working with grandma to help can it. And so the process of what happens in Molly's life is actually happening in the children's lives too, and being able to go on and sort of see that for yourself, I think, is the next step.
Well, thank you so much. Welcome back to New Mexico.
Oh, thank you
Thanks
so much for
being here.
having me. I appreciate it.